Welcome to my tutorial for the Orc Flyer. Today I'm going to try to magnetize not just the Dakkajet, but also other variants that you see in the back of the box. This will allow you to field any of the 4 variants of the jet just out of one kit. How am I going to do this? Well, with magnets of course. Now Games Workshop really made it hard to magnetize this kit, so reach into your inner mech and let's get started. Starting off, you want to build up the fuselage exactly like how you see it here. Do all these steps. Do everything here except for this. We're going to be magnetizing this part. This nose cone here is optional. You either can put it in or you can just leave it out. I just went ahead and just left it out. For the exhaust, you have several options. You can just leave it with either this or this plus this. So I just chose to put both together. It looks a little bit better. For the engine, you can pick either one of these 2 engine types. There's also 2 others on the other page. It really doesn't matter which engine you choose. It doesn't really affect any of the magnetizing. Also the same thing with the exhaust here. It doesn't matter either. You can put this one. This is the one I chose, but you can use this or any of the other options. And you just go ahead and put it in here. For the cockpit, you want to follow instructions for the Dakkajet page, which is page 2. You want to follow it, go all the way through, build up the Orc exactly like this. You're going to be utilizing only the front canopy area. You're going to leave it open top, and you'll see why a little bit later. What you do want to do is permanently attach these. So these 2 you want to put on, then the wings go on after that. Now what's good here is that you get an additional gun pod, so you can put some guns on it. Without these 2, you won't be able to put any additional guns. These pods here are optional. You can either put them in or not put them in. It doesn't really matter. We will want to do this part of it where we will attach these 2 pieces together. This gives us an additional gun pod. We attach the ailerons like this. After the step, the core flyer is basically done. Now just to work on the variants. You do not want to glue this in place. This is going to be dropped in place. It allows a little bit of modularity in this area, so make sure that you do not glue this. This plate should just drop in place and will be held by friction fit. You don't even need to apply any magnets to it. Now the Dakkajet can have up to 6 super shooters, so I'm going to teach you how to magnetize all 6. I'll be using my trusty magnetizing jig, and I will leave a link on the upper right hand corner on how to make it. Pick one polarity and apply a 4x1mm round magnet into each of the wing gun slots. You can adjust the position of the magnets while it's drying by using a non-ferrous item like a toothpick. The inboardmost gun pod actually has a huge hole in it, which is going to make magnetizing hard, so cut out a sprue and trim it down to size. What you'll be doing is you will be putting it into the hole with some plastic glue. This will give the 4x1 magnet something to sit on. You'll want to position this sprue piece as flat as possible so the magnet sits flush. Now that the gun pods are magnetized, you'll want to magnetize the guns themselves. Pick the opposite magnet polarity on the jig and apply a 4x1mm magnet to it. Apply some super glue to the base of the gun and put the magnet on with the jig. Move it into place and allow it to dry. If done correctly, all the guns should be able to attach into any of the gun pods. For the 2 super shooters that are underneath the nose, you'll want to apply a magnet into this cavity in the gun, and then also another magnet that's just going to sit on the surface of the nose. Pick one polarity and apply a 4x1mm magnet into roughly this area right here, and do the same on the opposite side. Now you want to apply another 4x1mm magnet with another polarity into the gun right here. This magnet should be recessed about 1 millimeter, and you can do that by just wedging it against both walls. Once the super glue is dry, just test it to see if everything works. Onward to magnetizing the front skid pad, apply some super glue onto these two nibs right here. Pick one polarity of the magnet and apply a 4x1 round magnet onto both these locations. They should have the same polarity. On the skid pad itself, the 4x1 millimeter magnet should be able to sit flush in these two holes. Pick the opposite polarity and apply the magnet into both holes. Now test to see if it works. Now for the gunner hatch on the top, I made a mistake. I actually made this particular version, the one with the grot in it, because I'm partial to grots. I like grots. So if you make this version, it actually hamstrings you a little bit. The Wazbom-Blastajet uses this version of the gun. So this is actually the better one to use. You use A37 because it's a little bit shallower and it would actually fit in the back of the tail if you want to use this version of the tail. The reason why you want to use this one from the Burna-Bommer or this version from the Wazbom-Blastajet is because this version that's used for the Blitza-Bommer is actually the same piece that's used for the Wazbom-Blastajet. So if you use this version of the gunner, you're going to basically get rid of your ability to build a Wazbom-Blastajet. So be very careful with this. Again, this piece can be friction fit, so there's no need to apply any magnets here. For the 6 small missiles on the Burna-Bommer, you'll want to nip off this part of the missile right here. Next, pick a polarity on the jig and apply a 4x1 millimeter magnet here. You apply a little bit of super glue and allow half the magnet to overhang. On the wing, you want to put 2x1 millimeter round magnets, and what you'll do is apply some super glue and then put the 2x1 millimeter magnet on the same polarity as you did the missiles. Now this may feel wrong, but trust me, it does work. Note that the location closest to the gun pod actually has interference with the missile, so you'll have to nip off the front. You'll want to do this on 2 missiles. You can do it on all of them, but at least 2. For the 2 larger bombs, I'm going to use a 4x1 millimeter round magnet on the wing. So you will pick a polarity for the magnet and you will apply it onto the wing in this area right here. What you'll do is basically cover that little hole, and on the bomb itself you will remove this feature right here using a modeling knife. Now you want to use a 4x2 millimeter round magnet, and what you'll do is just allow it to attach onto the magnet that's already on the wing. Apply a little bit of super glue onto the bomb and place the bomb on top of the magnet. Allow it to rest and it will adhere to the bomb. The Blitza-Bommer has a gun on the dorsal but facing the other way, and the easy part is just take this piece out and drop it in the opposite direction. To magnetize the big bombs, we are going to apply a magnet on the front rectangular attachment, but this time I'm going to use gel super glue, and I'm going to drown the entire front rectangular hole with this glue, basically to make a flat surface. Picking a polarity and a 4x2 millimeter round magnet, I place it on the gel super glue and allow it to dry. Next, I'm going to remove this entire front connection. I snip it off with hobby snippers and then clean it a little bit with my blade to create a nice flat surface for the magnet. Use a 4x2 millimeter round magnet and the opposite polarity and super glue it onto this area of the bomb. Now try this out on the wing and make sure everything works. Now the Wazbom-Blastajet has probably the most differences with the other 3 variants. For the 2 mega cannon pods, you want to apply a magnet right here and apply some steel strips right here. I will provide a link on the upper right hand corner on how to get these steel strips. The magnet in the front, pick the polarity that's opposite what's in the gun pod and apply it onto this area of the mega cannon pod. This is a 4x2 millimeter round magnet. For the steel strips, what I did is I cut 2x5 millimeter strips, 2 of them, and I would super glue them onto the 2 areas that I'm going to show here on the pod. Once everything is dry, test it out to see if it works. For the pod on the dorsal area, go ahead and build it up, and all you really have to do is just nip off a little bit of this area over here depending on the head that you use for your orc. This piece just drops in place and should mate up really easily with any of the orc heads. For the back of this pod, apply a steel strip right here and 4x1mm round magnets on the custom force field as well as the stick bomb flinger. The polarity of these magnets shouldn't matter because they are going to be attaching to the steel strip. For the steel strip, cut out a 2x5mm rectangle and apply super glue onto the back of the pod. Put the strip on the super glue and move it into place with a toothpick. Test to make sure everything works. For the heads of the Mega Cannon and the Teleport Mega Blaster, you will want to apply 4x1mm round magnets into this hole. Pick a polarity and apply the magnet with super glue into the hole of all the heads. On the pods, pick a opposite polarity and apply a 4x1mm round magnet in this area with super glue. Do a quick test to make sure everything works right. For the smasher gun, I needed to magnetize this area right here, but you can see these cables are in the way, so I just used a knife and cut it off. Next, I apply 2x4mm round magnets on this area in the opposite polarity of what's on the fuselage. I apply it into this hole right here in the back. And since it's a little bit low, I actually put super glue on it and I apply another 4x2mm magnet on top of it just to give it some height. For the front, I applied a single 4x2mm round magnet in this area, allowing it to overhang a little bit. At this point, all the magnetizing is done, and it is quite a bit of work. It takes a little bit of time to get all this done. But if you do it properly, you should be able to run a Dakkajet, a Burna-Bommer, or switch it out to a Blitza-Bommer, or configure it as a Wazbom-Blastajet. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. This was actually quite an arduous task. There was a lot of figuring out to do, but hopefully I've taken the guesswork out of this process for you. I have to admit that magnetizing may not be for everyone. It takes quite a bit of time and a lot of trial and error. But if you only want to buy one flyer and use it for multiple situations, which is basically what I'm planning to do with it, then magnetizing truly is the right way to go. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe so that you can follow along with future tutorials. My next one will be on how I paint this jet and all its variants. I hope to see you then.